All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the absolute most enigmatic internet theories of the digital age. It's this wild narrative that blends deep architectural appreciation with some honestly sweeping apocalyptic speculation. We're talking, of course, about the Tartarian Empire. This is a concept that has literally captured the imagination of thousands online, and it asks us to completely rethink the historical timeline as we know it. To understand the massive allure of this whole narrative, we really have to begin with a simple visual observation, one that asks us to just peel back the layers of how we actually perceive the past. Are we living in the ruins of a lost civilization? It's a pretty provocative question, isn't it? Well, for those who follow the Tartarian theory, the answer is a resounding yes. They posit that a technologically advanced worldwide civilization existed right up until the mid-19th century, only to be entirely erased from history by a deliberate global cover-up.
Section 1, a grand architectural mystery.
So proponents of this theory often point to these grand structures around us and argue they were way too advanced for the technology of the 1800s. Just picture it, the massive, majestic domed buildings of Washington, D.C., or that incredibly intricate stonework lining European capitals. Believers argue that 19th century technology, horse-drawn carts and manual labor, simply couldn't produce such architectural perfection on that massive of a scale. To them, these aren't just triumphs of standard engineering, they are undeniable anomalies. And because of that, these incredible buildings are believed to be the surviving remnants of a sprawling, interconnected civilization. The theory goes way beyond just some localized kingdom. Believers argue that Tartaria was a unified global empire spanning literally all continents. They claim the civilization possessed free energy, mastered high-level engineering that completely dwarfs our modern methods, and cultivated a peaceful collective culture, which, makes their sudden disappearance all the more tragic.
Section 2, the Great Mud Flood.
So, where on earth did this global utopia go? Well, the answer lies in a catastrophic event known as the Mud Flood. According to the theory, right around the mid-1800s, a sudden and massive cataclysm occurred. We're talking a literal global flood of mud that swept across the continents, burying the first floors of buildings worldwide. This is the exact mechanism by which they believe the Tartarian Empire was physically wiped out, setting the perfect stage for a massive reset of humanity. Now, think about your own city for a second. Supporters argue that the basement windows we see in older buildings today are actually the original ground-level entrances, now partially submerged in sediment from that flood. If you walk down the street in almost any major historic city, you're going to see these windows sitting right at the pavement level, looking down into half-buried rooms. According to the Tartarian narrative, these aren't just practical architectural choices for ventilation. No, they are literal physical evidence of a buried past. It suggests that the ground level we walk on today is actually several feet higher than it used to be before the cataclysm. Following this huge disaster, the theory outlines a pretty chilling cover-up. Step 1. The mud flood hits and devastates the Earth. Step 2. The survivors are left completely technologically regressed. And here's where the conspiracy really takes hold for Step 3. Remaining global powers step in, scavenge whatever is left of the surviving infrastructure, and officially rewrite history in Step 4. The monumental achievements of Tartaria are supposedly stolen and then claimed by modern nations as their very own handiwork. Section 3. Maps of a Lost Empire. This brings us to a really fascinating core friction in the whole theory. See, historically, Tartary was simply a broad geographical placeholder used by Europeans who hadn't fully mapped out Central Asia yet. It was just a geographic term. But for supporters of the theory, seeing the word Tartaria printed across massive regions on old maps is absolute definitive proof. They view it not as a placeholder label, but as a centralized, sovereign, and technologically advanced global empire that has been intentionally obscured by historians. They claim that our official history books have been deliberately rewritten to replace the true legacy of Tartaria with our modern divided nations. And the implication here is just massive. By fragmenting a unified, peaceful global identity, these so-called global powers were able to create disjointed national histories. In the eyes of believers, we were essentially fed a false narrative of separate, isolated development, all to keep us totally unaware of the magnificent shared heritage we supposedly once had. Section 4. Historical Reality and Progression. Now, experts emphasize that this grand alternative history kind of falls apart when confronted with documented reality. As the quote notes, the theory thrives by ignoring the documented progression of architectural styles and the tangible evidence of human construction throughout the centuries. We literally have the blueprints, the supply chain ledgers, and the clear documented evolution of architectural styles over time. We simply don't need a lost civilization to explain the impressive construction of the 1800s. Human labor and ingenuity are fully 100% accounted for. Furthermore, historians and psychologists note that theories like this often gain traction by identifying an establishment seeking to hide the truth. It creates a powerful emotional defense mechanism for believers. Think about it. If the world feels chaotic, believing that a grand, unified civilization was deliberately stolen from us by a hidden enemy provides a strange sort of psychological comfort. It organizes all of history into a really neat battle of good versus a deceptive establishment, offering believers a profound sense of hidden knowledge and order. Section 5. The Allure of Lost Ages. Ultimately, this whole piece of internet folklore thrives because it injects this massive sense of wonder into an otherwise well-documented history, and it encourages people to question the status quo. It really taps into our deep, collective fascination with lost golden ages, which, if you think about it, is a theme found in myths throughout all of human history. It highlights the human search for meaning in the past, showing how we can misinterpret visual patterns to build a grand alternative history simply because we desperately want the world to be just a bit more mysterious than it actually is. So, knowing all of this, how will you view the architecture in your own city today? Whether you see the Tartarian Empire as a cautionary tale of misinterpreted visual patterns or a beautiful testament to human curiosity, we leave you to look at the history right outside your own window and wonder. Will you ever look at a half-buried basement window or a grand stone dome exactly the same way again? The legend of Tartaria proves that the search for meaning in our past will always be an incredibly powerful driver of human imagination. Keep questioning, keep observing, and keep learning.